Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography chat live stream where we come together as a community and talk about photography. And as always, I like the audience to drive the conversation. So if you have any questions about photography or gear or anything, or if you want my opinion on anything, what's the latest going on, I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. And also like to welcome Tom here as a new member supporting my channel here and my live streams. It's greatly appreciated. Um, that's what keeps me going. That in addition to coffee. So I have links down below if you'd like to buy me a coffee or make a donation. Uh, as always, it's greatly appreciated. And I'm going to share a few things I've been doing. Actually went out this morning. I just got back about a half hour ago. Uh, doing some sunrise photography a little bit. So I'll share a few images from that. And also let me know if the audio and video is okay. I've been struggling a little bit lately with that again, as always. I don't know why it keeps changing. I just turned the computer on. It should be the same every week or every other day when I come on. But anyhow, let me check the chat section here. And I see Henning's here. Good to see you. And let's see, you'll have a wonderful Sunday. It's quite cold and windy, but sunny day here in Western Germany. I'm just back from a 3-hour hike, now firing up the stove. Awesome, awesome, man. That used to be kind of a dream of mine. Just get like a small place out in the mountains or out in some woodland or something and have a wood stove. Um, but not somewhere too cold, right? Maybe just a little bit further south from here, from where I am now, but it's awesome, man. Good morning, Darko. Good to see you. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you very much. And since I've been out shooting a bit yesterday, found an old church to make in black and white, and turned out cool. Nice. Yeah, it's cool when you find like some nice old buildings or interesting subjects to take pictures of. And it's cold again here in Canada. Getting tired. Yeah, we're kind of in a weird pattern here. Um, Springtime, the weather is kind of random, right? Like this past week, it was like 85 degrees on Tuesday, and then like Wednesday, I think it snowed. So I went from using the air conditioning in my car and rolling the windows down when I park because it would get too hot inside to, turning on all the heat uh, the very next day. It's going to do that again this week. We're going to have like 70-degree weather, I think tomorrow or something, and then it's going to be like below freezing, the next evening. But that's just how it is in the springtime here. It's kind of crazy. And good morning, Tom, and thank you again for your support. Yep, crazy weather all around. We're seeing 80 yeah, you're seeing the same thing I am, and then 20s in the next. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's like 85 degrees. I was wearing short sleeves or a t-shirt, and that was it. And then 2 days later, I'm like all bundled up in my heaviest coat, and there's an inch of snow on the ground. Ugh, crazy weather. But I gotta love it. And George, good to see you. John, good morning. Jeff, always good to see you. And Adrian, good morning from California. Gosh, you guys have the best weather down there, right? And let's see, Cuber's here from India. Very nice. And gosh, we have such a huge Indian community here where I live. Because a lot of IT places, right? Data centers and contractor jobs. big IT and medical community here. All very smart Indians come here, and it's great. And let's see. And here in Springfield, Illinois, we have a Springfield, Virginia, not far from me. And audiovisual, good. Thank you, Jeff. And good morning, Garrett. Good to see you. And thank you for the update, Adrian. And good evening, Paul. Good to see you. I think you're out in Australia, right? An ATR Bear, good morning. Let's see where we're at. And Coxcom from Northern Ireland was talking to Jimmy Chang yesterday at the photography show in Birmingham. He's a top bloke. Yeah, Jimmy's awesome. He really is. I've never had a chance to meet any of my peers here on YouTube in person. And hopefully one day I will. But I'm really, really proud to be part of the community here for Micro Four Thirds in general. But photography, lots of great folks here. It's starting finally to cool down and be slightly yeah, your weather's opposite over there, right? So like our winters are your summers. And viewing from PEI, it's sunny here. What is PEI? I'm not familiar with that acronym there. And good morning, Easy Rider. Good to see you. Having coffee and watching a blizzard. Wow. Oh God, it just gave me a chill thinking about it. I got, it's kind of cool this morning. It was in the 40s when I went out. And actually I have a few pictures I wanted to share. I can share that I took this morning. This one here is not from this morning, but yesterday when I went out. And you know, OM3 with the 14 to 42 kit lens, and then I have like that little mini tabletop tripod which I take with me almost all the time. And this was actually from this morning. You can see I'm pretty well bundled up again. And I was shooting mostly with my Insta360 actually. I'm going to do a review on some new lenses they have for it. But I did get a couple of bird shots with the 300 f4 and my OM3 out here at the Woodrow Wilson Bridge on the Potomac River. And this was taken with the Insta360 super wide angle, lens. It was sunrise, of course, which was really beautiful this morning. Other than the crop, this is pretty much straight out of camera. So I had it set to vivid, which probably I shouldn't have done. It's a little bit too rich in color, right? When, you know, morning sunrise is already has usually very rich colors to start with. So, yeah, it's a great spot over here. This is near Jones Point Park. And, you know, I check the weather every morning when I go out, the hourly weather, and I see if it's going to be cloudy, partly cloudy, or sunny. And if it's partly cloudy, I like to try and get out before sunrise and capture that with the clouds. And if it's going to be sunny, I tend to go birding more because then we have really good light, right? Early in the morning when the birds are out. And if it's going to be cloudy, then I might, usually I end up staying home, but if I'm motivated, I like to think about doing monochrome photography for very low contrast, black and white. So what I'll have to do is, I know the captain, I can't remember his exact username, was talking about, or was requesting I do more vlogging basically and getting out. So I'm trying to get used to using this again, you know, vlogging camera, and going out on a regular basis to shoot and talking to the camera. Like I'm used to talking to the camera here at my desk, right? But out in the field, it's just very awkward because there's always people around, and I'm self-conscious sometimes about that. But I will try to do some more vlogging. The weather's getting a little bit more warm, so that I'm not, you know, I can feel the buttons and everything on my camera, and I can talk and not have to think about trying to stay warm. So there's that. And I haven't processed any of these photos yet, but I did cherry pick a few from this morning. I kind of like these silhouettes, and these are basically the straight out of camera raw images that I captured this morning. Here's another one. I think I'll crop in a little bit, maybe something like that. and do a little processing to that. And this didn't quite work out the way I expected. I wanted to try to get this bird right into the thing, but I didn't get a good frame, and he's a little bit out of focus, so wasn't crazy about that shot. And then here's a seagull trying to catch something. I think he got a little of something. I don't know. But I really like this seagull. I like the backlighting on the wings, so I'm gonna work on this one a little bit. It needs some major denoising and stuff, but it'll come out pretty nice, I think. And this was taken with the OM3 and the 14-42 kit lens, so need to straighten the horizon and do a little bit there. I think just one click will do it. A little bit here and some clear view. But I'll work on that, and I'll post these to my Instagram later. There are some guys out there, they were pretty hardcore about their fishing, let me tell you. We just had a huge sewage spill, so I would be a little bit concerned about fishing or eating anything I catch, but they were pretty hardcore. You know, this is just a small sample, but on the left of this frame, there's probably about 10 more fishing poles on this little tiny deck. It's kind of crazy. And this, I was trying to do an environmental shot of this crow with the parking sign. I was just a little bit too close. This is when you want a zoom lens, right? So I can zoom out and capture more of the environment, but kind of a cool shot nonetheless. And of course, a cardinal, and another one of him in flight. I'm trying to find the right frame. Now this was an interesting shot. This is an osprey, so he's starting to build his nest to you know, have his little babies. So I'm pretty excited about that. There's always I can always get some really good shots of ospreys here along the Potomac because they're not too far off with my 300mm lens. So I'm going to process that. And here's some starlings doing some bird bath. And you know, they were really going at it in the water, splashing around a lot. And then just when they were starting to get into it, a jogger went by and they all flew off. So I didn't get any really good shots of them splashing around. But I thought this was a good shot. He's all wet now because they when the jogger came by, they flew back up into the tree. So this is a wet starling. So I love the colors on this bird, and I'm gonna process the heck out of that one too, because these are what, like ISO 12,000. Crazy. But that's kind of the gist of it. I think I have a few more down here. Yeah, these this was taken with the Insta360. Again, these are the straight out of camera JPEGs actually. I did process this one. I just cropped it basically. But I thought this came out pretty nice. Nice framing with the tree here and leading lines up to the sun. But there was one other one that I took early on. Let's see. I think this one's going to come out nice. I'm going to have to find the raw image and process it. It's either this one or this one. Yeah, this is the one. So I have the leading line here on the left of this pier, and then of course the bridge, both of these pointing into the sunrise. This is just before the sun came up. And then there's a plane here, which is typical. It's flying into Reagan National or DCA Airport over here. So this just needs maybe a little bit of a crop and, you know, some processing. Definitely need a little bit here. But we'll see how that goes. I just need a few minutes to process that, and I'll post this one as well. It just needs a little crop. I'm sorry. I just got back, so I haven't had a chance to really look at these yet. But I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then I have some other more pictures from yesterday. I'll share those later. Let me get to the chat section. Oh, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And 99 cents is a bargain. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna do a members only live stream. So keep an eye out for that. Either later today, because it's gonna rain. So I did so much housework yesterday. I think today I'll do some more streaming, maybe later today, or tomorrow, depending on the weather. If the weather's going to rain again tomorrow, I'll just do a members live stream. So if you're a member, keep an eye out for that. If you're not a member and like to join that, now's a good time. This will be my very first members only live stream. It's something that I can offer to members that I didn't really think about, because I live stream like 3 times a week already, and most of you guys members here, but we can do a members only and something more. So when I post the link for the members only live stream, I'll put it in the community tab, and leave some comments there of what you'd like to talk about or any questions you might have. Maybe I can do a tutorial or something on some of the recent videos I've done, like on the flash photography. It seems to be very popular on my channel. Or with any of the bird and flight settings. I've been experimenting with some new bird and flight settings since the annual Micro Four Thirds meetup. And I have sort of a hybrid version of what Lee Hoy was talking about, and also practicing exactly the way he shoots generally. So keep an eye out for that. And Yukon Chris, good to see you from Canada. Wow. Nice. Nice. So Prince Edward Island is one of their maritime provinces. Gosh, yeah. I really love being near the water. That's the only thing that keeps me from like moving out to the mountains. Because we don't normally have mountains and water in the same place unless it's a lake or something, right? But the mountains around here don't have too many lakes. They might be a couple of ponds, but okay. And then Xmeta says, what's your take on the 50 to 200, 2.8 to 3.5 SW out more? Oh, hi Rob, take the 50 to 200. Not what's my take, but take the. Okay, I can. You kind of lose some of the features of the OM system cameras, like bird detect and face detect, I believe. So I'm probably going to have to just work with, and I'm not even sure how fast the continuous shutter would work with that, but I can try. I only shot with it like a couple of times in my backyard. The birds are starting to finally come back. Gosh, we had about over a month, where there was hardly any birds coming to my bird feeder. But I came back from this morning's photo walk, and the feeder was half empty. And I was like, ooh, nice. Finally, finally some hungry birds. I don't know where they went for a month. I don't know if it was the cold snap that we had, because we were well below zero for a couple of weeks, or if it was the sewage spill, which they said had no effect on the birding. But I can't believe that it didn't have some effect, because it was really rancid outside. You could smell it. I'm like 7 miles away from the river, and I could smell it from here. Wow, that was a bad environmental thing. Supposedly, as of today, it's officially cleaned up. And I was out this morning. I didn't smell anything, so I can say that the smell is gone, but the water doesn't really look any cleaner to me. And can the Godox Luxmaster do high-speed sync flash? As far as I know, it does. I rarely use it, but let me double check. I'm pretty sure that it does. But I will double check for you. So we'll go into mode, multi-TTL. Well, it's not in the menu. Where's my trigger? Okay, I can use this as a trigger. There should be a trigger laying around right here somewhere, but my desk is a nightmare right now. I got 3 different camera bags and just stuff everywhere laying around. So let me put this into transmitter mode. Okay. So this is on A. Oops, I have to put it on the right channel. So group A, channel 21. Okay, good. Still not firing. What the heck? Group A, channel 21, group A. ID off. Oh, I gotta pop this out. There we go. Now we're good. Give me a second. Now I'm seeing white spots. All right, so let's put this into high-speed sync. I need to get a reasonable lens on here. Sorry, for those of you that don't care about flash, just bear with me. I'm going to be done here in 2 minutes. Okay, so we're going to put this on here. Put this into manual. So let's do a regular sync speed shot. Okay, good. And, whoops. Put the card back in. Okay, let's go to mechanical shutter. And let's try 1/640th. Yep, works perfect. Let me turn the flash down. So I'm up at 1/4000th of a second. And I got a perfect, you can't see that. But yeah, it works. 1/8000th of a second. Let's try 1/8000th. It works perfectly. Let me lock my ISO. Let's do one more just to make sure I'm not getting an ambient shot. One more time. Okay, we need more power. A little more power. We're almost there. Yep, perfect. So you can see there's no black bars, and that is flash only exposure. I just have to raise my ISO just a bit. Let's go up to 1600. So 1/8,000th of a second. There we go. So you should be able to see the settings there. 1/8,000th of a second, f5.6, ISO 2000, and no black bars. Okay. I love this flash. I use it at events all the time. Okay. When using your 300 f4, do you miss not having a zoom option? Very rarely. Very rarely, because most of the time the birds are so far away, I want more reach. But yeah, no, I don't miss it. I don't miss not having the zoom. I did mention this, earlier in the stream about that crow. It'd have been nice to zoom out a little bit on that one, but it's okay. I'm not upset about it at all. And let's see, Thomas is here. Hello, Rob Trek and fellow trekkers. Late to the show, checking in from Decatur, Georgia, USA, where it's partly sunny, 15°C, late winter morning. But tomorrow, thunderstorm. Yeah, we're getting the same cold front kind of running through where I am. I'm probably about 6 or 8 hours north of you, right? And looking for ideas for a strap to use with the 300 f4. Do they make something that connects to the lens and the camera? Yes. You really don't need to connect to both, though. And what I do, I use a rapid strap. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Right now, actually, I'm using kind of a homemade strap where it's just this paracord and a couple of key rings that go onto this D-ring here into the lens mount. The reason I don't like to connect to the camera at the same time is because sometimes I want to swap lenses, and that would that would mean I'd have to unhook the strap from this lens and connect it back to the camera, so I have two hooks going onto the camera. But when I went out this morning, I went out like this, right? I had the strap, regular camera strap, right? And then I used my 14-42 kit lens for a lot of the shots. And then when I wanted to do some birding, I had this lens hanging off my left shoulder like this, right? So I'm out like this. This is, oops, let me come over here. This is my setup. But if I had this strap connected to both, I wouldn't be able to do that. So what I did is I just took this lens off. So turn the camera off, because this is the power zoom, right? And I would drop this into my bag or coat pocket, put the lens cap on that. And then I could swap over to this. And now I'm good like this. So this allows me to swap lenses in the field without unhooking from the camera. That said, this is a little bit, and this is why I switched to the paracord, like a really thin strap. Because if you have like two thick straps hooked up to your camera at the same time, it gets really clumsy and awkward, right? So I use very, very thin straps. Like this is like a 1-inch strap, right? This is not a very thick strap. And then this paracord obviously is not very thick. But that's how I do it. That's my workflow. And then when I'm done with the 300, I can take it off and let it just rest off my shoulder, right? Because it's on this. I'll put the lens cap back on here. I'll pull this out of my pocket, and now I'm back to this, right? And I can shoot with this because I'm always, not always swapping lenses, but this morning I was, and this gives me that option. So that's why I don't like to hook to both. But if you do want to hook to both, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But there are straps. There are straps that hook to both. Typically, you can use any strap that'll hook to both, right? Even this strap that I have hooked to the camera, what I would do is I would just attach this and hook it to, because the lens would then have some sort of quick release. You could use Peak Design quick release clips and keep one on the lens and then keep two on the camera, and then all you have to do is unhook one side from the camera and hook it to the lens, and then you have, you know, something connecting to both. So you would still have a D-ring on the lens mount, right? The lens collar, and then you'd have a little Peak Design or quick release over here that your strap could hook into. So that would be the way to do it if you wanted to do it that way. And if you're using a heavier strap, that would make more sense. Just have one strap and just unhook it. But I worry about dropping my camera because I might forget that, you know, I only have one strap, and if I unhook it and let go of my camera, it'll drop, or let go of the lens, it'll drop, right? The way I have it set up now is nothing will drop. You know, if I unhook my 300 f4 and I let go of it, it'll just hang off my waist, you know. Okay. Let's see. And Jack says, or Jacob, hey Rob, considering Olympus 75 1.8 and the 75 to 300, which one would you recommend to improve shooting technique for? Now I own the 12 to 32 Lumix, I own the EM10 Mark II. I would go with the 75 to 300 because of the zoom, right? And it'll give you a lot more options in the field to do different types of photography. With a 75 prime, you know, you're stuck at one focal length, and it's pretty tight for a lot of photography and not being able to zoom in beyond 75. So I rarely use my 75 to 1.8. Now, if you want to do portrait photography, you're probably better off with a 45 1.8. But you could do it with a 75, but it's very tight. Those are like headshot only type shots. And if you want to get the whole body in, you have to stand back like 20 feet. So 45 would be better. But a 75 to 300 will give you a lot of options for doing very tight landscape type photography. You could zoom it out to 75 and do headshot type portrait work. And you know, everything in between 75 and 300 gives you so many options, right, in the field. A 75 prime, it's a very specific lens, right? You know, it really only has one purpose. So yeah, I would go with the 75 to 300. Now, if you're not into birding or telephoto type stuff photography, then the 75 1.8 might make more sense because then it's going to be more versatile in low light situations. So you could use it indoors at events. It's perfect for like event photography. Robin Wong uses his 75 a lot at his events. And for that kind of photography, you know, that makes more sense. But I think in general, if you have a 12 to 32, 75 to 300, or even a 40 to 150 kit lens, that's like $129. It's like half the price of a 75 to 300. That, I would probably recommend you do that over either of those two lenses. Is the 40 to 150 kit lens. That lens is amazing. That lens is amazing, and it's cheap, and it's on sale right now for like $129 or something. But even if you pay the full price of $200, it's still a bargain. So I would probably steer towards that lens, because then you can use that lens as a portrait lens, landscape lens for telephoto type landscape, and even a little bit of birding, right? If it's a bird on a stick, like in a tree not too far away, you'll be fine with that lens. And then you put some extension tubes on it. I use extension tubes all the time. You put extension tubes on it, you can even do close up and near 1:1. I think with the double extension tube, I get about 0.75 magnification, but this is awesome. You put this on the 40 to 150, you got an awesome close-up photography lens. And this only adds another like $30, right? Because it's about $30 for a set of these. And you get the 40 to 150 for another 150 bucks, give or take. So for about 200 bucks, you got a lens that'll do everything. Whereas the 75 to 300 that's really good more for birding and wildlife. And the 75 1.8, if you think you're going to be doing event photography a lot and indoors, then that would be your go-to lens, and not the 40 to 150 or the 75 to 300. Okay, and good morning, Roger. Good to see you. And Adrian says, considering a USB hub to connect multiple external SSD drives, any recommendations? So you want to make sure that you future-proof your USB hub to whatever computer you're going to be using now and in the years to come. So make sure it has the latest Thunderbolt compatibility, and that'll give you the maximum throughput for all of your SSDs. And sometimes it's called, I've seen specs like USB-C 4 or Thunderbolt 4. You want to make sure it has Thunderbolt 4 as a minimum. There might be Thunderbolt 5 out now. It's been over a year since I bought mine. But Thunderbolt 4 as a minimum. And then you want to make sure that the hub has at least, I would say at least 3 USB-C ports plus a USB-C input. So you're going to have 4 USB-C ports, one that connects to the computer directly, and that's going to be a Thunderbolt 4 or better. And then you're going to have 3 Thunderbolt USB-C ports. And these 3 Thunderbolt USB-C ports will connect to your SSDs directly. And that'll give you the maximum throughput from the SSDs through the hub back to your computer. So that would be the minimum. Now, things I wish they would exclude from a hub, like I don't need another audio video jack in my hub, but it's hard to find a hub that doesn't have an audio video jack, like a 3.5 millimeter jack. It's also hard to find a hub that doesn't have like a network port. I don't use networking, wired networking. Now, one thing you probably do want though is, and this is kind of optional, it depends on your overall setup, but if you have an HDMI port in the hub, it's really useful for connecting an additional monitor, right? And if it's a Thunderbolt 4, the HDMI port is more than likely going to be 4K, and you can probably hook up 2 or 3 4K monitors. I prefer HDMI over the display port, just because I can find, I can hook just about any monitor, to an HDMI port, whereas not all monitors have display ports. Most of them do, but not all. And sometimes, some people like to connect TVs to their computer, right? Particularly videographers, they like to hook up a regular 4K HD TV. because they want to play back their whatever their production is on the typical format that most people are going to be watching their videos. So most TVs do not have a display port. Most TVs are HDMI. So I would get what are we talking about now? I just had a brain fart. The hubs, right? So I would get a hub with minimum 4 USB-C, where one is just the connector to the computer, and 3 would be Thunderbolt 4s, HDMI port. Those are the minimums. Now, a lot of monitors also have USB-C display capability, where you would, and Thunderbolt 4s just by default has that. You would connect your monitor through the USB-C port, because the monitor has a USB-C port in the back. If you're going to be doing that, then I would get more than 4 ports if you can find them, you know. But typically you won't find more than 4 USB-C ports. So that's what I would do. Thunderbolt 4, 4 USB-C ports, HDMI plug or port. And one other thing you might want to consider is it PD compatible or power delivery compatible? You want to make sure that the port has its own power supply. And if it's PD compatible, power delivery compatible, it can also charge your laptop or charge, like I use the PD port on my hub a lot of times to charge, you know, my little cameras and stuff. But I also have it plugged into my laptop, so I don't need to use the big power brick that comes with my laptop. I can plug everything into, so the USB-C port that connects to the computer, that's going to be PD compatible. Typically you want at least 100 watts so that your laptop can run it. Even at 100 watts, my laptop doesn't run at full speed. It throttles down a bit. But a lot of USB-C ports, PD compatible hubs are now 140, 200 watt. You know, the price ramps up quite a bit, but you're going to want to get a external power supply. I don't care what, if it's PD compatible or not, you definitely want to have a USB-C hub that has its own power supply, because it needs to power all the SSDs and any other devices you might connect to it. Another optional thing is USB-A ports, the older style USB plug. You want to make sure those are 10 gigabit, okay? So 10 gigabit USB-A ports, 40 gigabit with DisplayPort capability on the USB-C, which would be Thunderbolt 4 or higher. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and Adam is here. I've read some things on ISO 640 being a secondary sweet spot on several systems, and OM system being one of them. Do you have any understanding of this idea, or is it just some... I don't know about 640. For me, it's ISO 1000. Okay. So what you can do is you can go to, let me see if I can pull it up. Because this has something to do with dual gain sensors and things, and I don't know about the 640. I may have seen it before, but I just ignore it because it doesn't do me any favors. Why isn't... Here we go. So you want to go to photons to photos. So it's photons to photos.net. Give me a second here. I want to make sure I have. And you want to look at read noise. And then let's select down here, OM1 Mark II. So you see, read noise is basically noise, right? How much noise is the camera generating all on its own? And how is it perceived, or in the output? Or how does it affect the output? So you can see here it says, hopefully you can see this, but it says ISO 1006, read noise is 0.7 log, read noise 1.625 dN, whatever that is. But you'll notice there's a dip, right, between 800 and 1000. So there's actually less read noise at ISO 1000 than there is at ISO 800. In fact, it's even a little bit less than ISO 636. So, okay, so this is very close to ISO 640. So I think maybe that's where this is coming from as a sweet spot. Because you can see the read noise here is almost identical to the read noise at ISO 1000. So maybe that's why they're calling this the sweet spot. But usually ISO 640 is not that much different than ISO 200. I mean, I get it. It's 1.5 stops difference. But from ISO 200 to ISO 1000, we're talking 2 1/3 stops roughly. That's a significant update. So for me personally, ISO 1000. So whenever I'm out shooting and I have enough light to work at ISO 1000, then I'll try and stay under 1000. But you can go up to ISO 1200 here, and it'll give you roughly the same read noise as ISO 800. But I think that's why they might be saying ISO 640 is kind of a sweet spot, because it is the same as ISO 1000. Now, read noise is not the end-all be-all of noise, right? Because we're amplifying all noise. But for me, I think that's where they get it from. So it sounds reasonable. But 640 has more noise than 500, more noise than 400. So the lower you can stay in the ISO range, the less noise you're going to have. But if you're going to go to 600, if you're going to go to 640, you might as well go to 1000 if you need the light. In fact, you can go up to 1200. I would say even ISO 1200 is kind of a sweet spot, because it's not really much more noise than 800, right? And then from there, if you're up over ISO 1000, you're being forced to do so, right? Because of the light. So I'll give you an example. Like when I went out and I did an event, I wanted to mix ambient light together with the flash photography, right? I showed those photos last week, I think. And I shot at ISO 1000 a lot. I could have shot, because I wanted to maintain a certain shutter speed, the freeze action, because there was a lot of dancing. But I tried not to go above 1000 if I could help it. And I ended up shooting with an f2.8 lens. I had my f4 lenses. When I put my f4s on, I put it at ISO 1600, right? Because I was trying to minimize the noise that I have to clean up, especially with people's faces. If you try to clean up too much noise, they can start to look a little pasty, right? So anyhow, I don't want to dwell on this topic too long, but hopefully you get the idea. I think that's the idea, where the idea comes from about ISO 640 being a sweet spot. ISO 640 will be less noise than ISO 1000, right? But not that much. Not that DxO or some other software could clean up and be imperceptible, the difference. And this ISO 1000 setting comes into play particularly with long exposures, like 30 seconds, 1 minute, like in astrophotography. You can go to ISO 1000 to maximize the amount of light, or maximize your shutter speed, because you want to keep the shutter speed as short as possible in astrophotography, so you don't get star trails and things, right? Or weird artifacts. shooting at ISO 1000 is kind of the optimum ISO to use in astrophotography. And I can get, so I typically do 1-minute exposures at ISO 1000 at f4, sometimes f5.6 in my astrophotography. And that gives me about the perfect exposure for my astro to do deep sky stacking and all of that. Okay, I have the Olympus 900 FL flash, thinking of trading in for the 700 FL because the 900 seems so big. What's your opinion? I think for macro photography, close-up photography, 99% of your photography otherwise, the FL 700 is going to be more than enough light. So I don't see why not trade down, or size down to a 700 FL. I don't recall the guide numbers. Let me take a quick look. The FL 700 has a guide number of 58. I'm sorry, the 900 has a guide number of 58, and the 700 has a guide number of 42. So it depends on what you're using the flash for. If you need distance, right? If you need the flash to project the light further, then you got to stick with the FL 900, basically. And the 700 is going to be, yeah, I would size down if you can. Because very rarely do you need, it's easier to just add one stop of ISO to your shot if you need more light than a 700 can give you, than to walk around with a big, huge FL 900. And Adam says, also, what is the benefit of hooking the camera strap into the tripod mount hole on the bottom of the camera instead of using both camera lugs? Okay, so I just hook into the lugs, right? Because typically I'm not using big lenses with my OM3. But when you start adding heavy lenses and it's hooked to the lug, your camera tends to tilt forward, right? When you're carrying it. The other thing is, a lot of times when I'm carrying the camera just on the lugs itself, I can't tell you how many times I've popped off the thing here. So you have a potential to lose the eye cup cover because as you're carrying it, the camera's kind of moving around like this. And I've knocked this off many, many times. Number two, when you're holding it, have it on the camera lugs also, your screen is kind of exposed and all your buttons and everything. But, you have to be conscious of closing this because a lot of times, when I'm hanging it off a camera strap, it's right at waist level with my belt here. And sometimes I've, you can scratch the back of your screen, whatever you're wearing. If you're wearing pants that have rivets in them, like blue jeans, or even this jacket has a little zipper, because when it's on the camera strap like this, you can see it's hanging like this. So those are the two, the two biggest things. Now, when you hook it to the bottom here, you have a little D-ring here, and you hook the strap into here. The camera tends to stay like this, face down, when you're carrying it. So you eliminate all of the problems that this does, right? It eliminates all of those problems. So that's, far as I know, that's That's the only reason you would carry it, plug it in this way, so that your camera faces down more, rather than like this, where you risk, scratching up things on the back, popping off the eye cup, things like that. Okay. I don't I don't I don't personally, I just use the camera lugs. The other thing is, particularly with very, very heavy lenses, right? You want the camera to naturally face down this way. And you're gonna hook the lens. Typically, you're gonna hook the strap directly to the lens. But if you got moderately heavy lens without a lens collar, and you hook it here, it takes the pressure off of this lug. Now this lug is still going to have 50%, but now you got one lug that doesn't have any, and you're distributing the weight down here. I've broken this lug before, back when I had a D7100, the Nikon D7100, because I was carrying very, how heavy the big ass lenses are on DSLRs were, right? Eventually this lug, it didn't break off, but it jiggled around enough that the screw inside came loose, dropped inside of the camera, and the lug came out, and the camera hit the ground. Okay? Yeah, that sucked. And that's why I bought a D750, because I had to replace my D7100, because I was very happy with my D7100, but since I had to buy a new camera anyway, I got a D750. But what happened is the little screw went inside and shorted something out, and the camera wouldn't turn on anymore. But anyhow, if you're going to carry very heavy lenses, it's best not to split the weight to the camera lug. It's best to have all of the weight on the lens collar. And Tom says, thanks for the info. I only use the one lens when I go out with the 300. I'll look for a D-ring to connect my current quick release straps to the lens. Yes. And have you considered a flash from Godox? Okay, so I'm a big fan of Godox, but I'm sure there are reasons to use dedicated Olympus flashes, right? And Gordon is here. Good to see you. And Tom says, I want to connect the tripod lug to have the camera on my hip instead of front, so I take some stress off the lens mount. Definitely. Yeah, it takes all the stress off the lens mount when you have it connected to the lens only. Because let me tell you, the slightest change in the plane of your lens mount may not be perceptible to the eye, but when you're taking photos and you notice one corner of your images are always blurry, it's because the lens mount has been, is slightly out of spec. So just be wary of your lens mount and not bending, or deforming your lens mount. That is a problem. And Adrian says, thanks for USB info. You're welcome. And Face Detect works with the 50 to 200. Oh, okay, on the M5. Bird Detect I cannot test. Yeah, I'm positive that doesn't work. I have to see on the OM3 if I have to try it. And Andy's, oh, hey, Andrew, how are you? It's ISO 400 that's virtually identical to 200. Yes. Yeah, they're all pretty close. I mean, without processing, 200, 400, yeah, they are virtually identical. But I haven't really I haven't really tested it, but I believe you. And Marco is here. How are you, Marco? No worries. Come by anytime. That's for my EM1 Mark II, I think. Yes. And the photo says 400 ISO is secondary sweet spot for the EM10, only slightly noisier than 200. I leave it there, giving me leeway in darker conditions and upping the shutter speed in bright conditions. Yes. And David says for OMDS, the base ISO 200 should get the best results. That is technically true. But I've shot at like ISO 80 a lot. And I don't know, anywhere between up to 1,000 really with noise software, the differences are imperceptible to my eye. But I know there's a difference. There's more noise the higher you go off of 200. The higher or lower you go off of 200, there's going to be some compromise, right? But it's virtually imperceptible up to 1,000. Between 80 and 1,000 is not much difference. And Dub Snapper says, good afternoon. My issue is I can't seem to get focus peaking working on my EP7. Even though I enabled it, I'm using some old Russian lens that work fine on my ESORP with peaking. So with these older lenses and focus peaking relies on contrast, right? And these old lenses typically don't have very good contrast. So that's probably why you're not seeing it. So what I would recommend is change your peaking level to high and see if that helps. And then, you know, go out and try and focus on grass on the ground or dirt or gravel where there's a lot of contrast, and set your focus peaking to high and try and get the lens and stop the lens down. If you're shooting wide open on a Russian lens, yeah, there's very little contrast and the focus peaking is not going to pick up that contrast. So stop the lens down to f8, go out and take pictures of grass, set your focus peaking to high. And the only reason I'm saying this is just to confirm that the focus peaking is working, right, with that lens. If you're not getting any focus peaking indicators at f8 on grass, okay, then the focus peaking is probably not working at all. It's probably not on. So do that. There's one other setting. I'm not familiar with the EP7, but it's probably the same as my EM5. But there's another setting called adjust lighting for focus peaking. I forget what it's called exactly. Well, it's gonna be very similar to this Pen F. I just need the name of the. I can tell you where it is on this camera. Oops, display. Oh man, it's been a while since I've been on this thing. So you turn focus peaking on here. And then under display, or is it under exposure? It should be under display. Yeah, peaking settings. Okay, so there's, let's see if you can see that. There's 3 settings there. Okay, so you go into the D menu, display menu. You want to go into peaking settings. And then there's 3 settings here. You can set the peaking color. I have it set to white. Highlight intensity, you want to set that to high. The other thing you want to try is, you see that it says image brightness adjustment. It's the third line. You can turn that on or off. Try both ways. When you turn it on, it's going to brighten the display, kind of like Live View Boost. It's going to brighten the display so that you can see the peaking a little better. If you turn it off, it's not going to adjust the display. The display is going to reflect the actual exposure. And peaking can be sometimes harder to see. I typically have it turned off personally because I always like to see what the exposure is going to be, and peaking is usually secondary to me. Because most of the lenses I shoot that I adapt to it are sharp enough. But these older Russian lenses that you shoot wide open, yeah, it's going to be hard. Okay, and concerning Astro, you have K3. Just find OGPS unit. It might surprise you. 10 to 22nd low ISO exposures with zero trailing at 200 millimeters. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I've heard 10 to 20 seconds on the K3. And Rob's flash for macro, yeah, definitely go to the 700. In fact, you know, I use this for macros sometimes, just this little IT30. So maybe instead of buying it, if you're talking about macro, instead of buying an FL700, just buy a Godox V480. I think you'll get better performance overall. But I can't say because I've never shot with an FL700. I'm just making an educated guess because the FL700 uses AA batteries. So I can't imagine that the recycle time is anywhere near as good or consistent as a lithium ion flash like the Godox V480. And Anthony's here from Newfoundland, Canada. I really think if OM introduced an all-new Pen f-style camera that is smaller and lighter with drastically improved autofocus over the original Pen, it will be a success. I don't know. They would have to introduce a new lens with it, like a 20 millimeter f1.4. We have that already, but like a 1.8 compact pancake lens, because Panasonic stopped making their pancake lens. But if OM System could make a pancake 20 millimeter that focused fast enough and the new autofocus, that would probably do okay. But, you know, Fujifilm, they're probably their best selling camera, at least in Japan, is the X100F or X106, right? A fixed lens camera. Their XE5, I don't think even made the list in Japan. Of course, the 43 rumor site is down today. I can't find it. There's this article here. Number 1, second half of December, I assume, yeah, 2025. A7 V, XT30, A7C, R5, A7C. All the way down here is the XM5. This is this is part of the problem that, so this is part of the problem, right? Is if OM Systems, or Panasonic for that matter, right, wanted to jump in and make a rangefinder style camera, you know, there are a lot of cameras at a lower price point that, you know, are pretty amazing as it is. XM5 is a great little camera. Why? I was trying to find the list where it was just all cameras, fixed lens and mirrorless. That's called something else. I don't know if it would do well, to be honest. I really don't. Because none of their marketing right now is geared towards street photography. Even with the OM3, they, you know, it's selling well for them, I believe, well enough. I think they're going to come out with a pen series without an EVF, sort of like the XM5 from Fuji. That camera does sell well. So I don't know if a Pen F would do well, right? If they can come out with an EP7 that's under $1,000, and they come out with a 20 millimeter like f1.8 pancake lens, if they could do that, that might do well for them, but I don't know. Anthony says, I understand the original Pen F when it first came out was not a success, and now the used market, they are fetching high prices and highly sought after. Yeah, but I don't think manufacturers really care about the used market. There is a resurgence in compact cameras, but yeah, they don't seem to care what the used market does. They just need to bring out an all-new small compact camera that the street and travel photographer would like to have. That summary style, yeah. It's a pretty dense field of cameras in that range now. It's XM5, XE5, XT50, XT30. I know I'm counting regular DSLR styles, but X100, and then you have the Canons, you know, R50 or V50. There's so many cameras in that space, like in the $1,000 range, right? Over some time, I switched quick 5x magnification from manual focusing on the M42 adapted lenses. Peaking is not that precise, but faster, yes. By the way, M42 Helios is very sharp at f2. Okay. I've never used that lens, so I don't know. But I know when I shoot like my vintage Nikon 50 millimeter f1.4, the old AIS lens at 1.4, focus peaking is hard. And Adam says, for that EP7, make sure you assign a button and consider magnify function. EP7 allows one level of strength on the peaking, I'm pretty sure. Okay. That sounds about right. Because my Pen F is a little more advanced than the EM10 series and the older cameras. And Dove says, thanks, Rob. I'll try your tips. Okay. And they should scrap the rangefinder they had with the Pen F, which probably made the camera more expensive than need to be for the market was intended, and go just EVF to cut cost. So you're saying EVF only and no screen? That's not going to fly. That people need the versatility of being able to flip that screen around so they can do selfies and do vlogging. Because a lot of the market is vlogging, right? These hybrid shooters, not photographers. And Heather's here, and Heather says, does anyone know the path custom savings get stored to? There was one I found on the OM pages, but it wasn't correct any longer. So are you talking about, I don't know what you're talking about, path custom savings get stored to. You have to be more specific. Custom savings from what? A camera? I wouldn't know what that was anyway. If you're talking about OM Workspace, that can be found. So let me know if you're talking about OM Workspace or talking about camera settings. The only time I've saved camera settings is to my phone. That's right, you can save them through OM Workspace. So let me take a quick look. I don't think I've opened up OM Workspace in months. And you have a Mac, so it's going to be different anyway. But there might be a way to find it through OM Workspace, and then it shouldn't matter if it's Mac or PC. Camera settings. Save. Let me see. Yeah, it's going to be very different on a Mac. Let me see. I'm just looking around OM Workspace right now. Let me try. Let me open up an image real quick. Okay, on your PC, Heather? All right, 1 second. In that case, it's going to be in one of those Windows. I bet Marco knows if he's still here. Marco probably knows right off the top of his head. Because Windows, let me look in the Windows folder under, what's that? User. What is that folder called? I haven't been in there in a long time. Program data. Where's the local? It's something program folder, local. Program data. Thought it was something local. Oh, app data, local. Okay. And then OM. OMDS. Okay, here you go. So camera settings. So I'll paste this into the chat. So where it says user/Mark 6, you want to, it's going to be your name here under Mark 6. So you see where it says user/Mark 6, right about here. It's not going to be Mark 6 for you. It's probably going to say Heather or something, whatever your computer name is. So it's, I named my computer Mark 6, but whatever your computer name or username is, and then app data local OMDS camera settings. That should be it. Okay. Rob, hi, I used the OM1 Mark II. Do you know if there's a way to use something other than half press to get Pro Capture to work? Not that I know of. Yeah, sorry. I don't know of any. I don't know of anything. That's a good question though. It'd be nice if you could assign the Pro Cap like the AF on, right? Where you're just holding the AF on button for Pro Capture and then take the picture when you're ready. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. I don't think there is a way. If anyone knows, leave it in the chat section, but I can't think of anything. And Anthony said, if they had a new camera that was styled in between EP7 and Pen F price, so that would be what? That would still be like $1,000. That would just put it right in the, it would just, yeah, 1,000 ain't gonna cut it. I don't think they can afford to take that risk. I mean, it seems like almost since the Pen F came out, people have been waiting for a Pen F2. And it's just never came to be. And Adam says, OM should gather all of the non-company visionaries, Rob and his M43 meetup crew for the next show and launch a camera there. That lets Rob meet everyone in person and also boosts the launch. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Okay, thanks. Oh, you're welcome, Heather. And Anthony says, how about all new EP Pro for the street and travel photographer and lifestyle photographer that feels they have forgotten about OM systems? Yeah, I just don't think OM System is interested in, right now, non-street photographers. Their goal is this niche of wildlife action photography and landscape, and go out and do adventures and capture your adventures, right? Because wildlife photography in particular requires very highly capable cameras and very expensive lenses. So it's very profitable for them to create the higher end cameras and higher end lenses, right? AKA the release of the 50-200 f2.8 recently, as a, and the OM1 Mark II, the Pen F also, I'm sorry, the OM3, very wildlife capable. I use it for birding all the time. But, and the OM5 Mark II being weather sealed, rugged, to go out and capture adventures. But generally speaking, they are focusing on, because they didn't put a lot of R&D into the OM5 Mark II. But they put all their eggs into the OM1 Mark II. And, I'm not, whether it's the Mark 1 or the Mark II, there was a lot of work done on that camera for wildlife and photography. And then the release of the 50-200 being primarily the major new lens to come out, right? Since the last, what was the last pro lens they had? The 150-400. They are focusing on that niche for profitability. If they were to jump into the mid-tier rangefinder market, street photography, that's a pretty competitive space that I don't know if they would sell enough cameras or take anyone away from, uh, take anyone away from their current system. If you have a Fuji shooter or Canon or Nikon shooter that likes their camera system and they're a street photographer, like the Nikon ZF, right? It's on sale now for 1,800 bucks. The Nikon ZFC is on sale for like $1,000. Um, they don't really have a rangefinder style camera yet, but that's Nikon. And Canon's got a few out there that are small DSLR style. And then of course Fuji, and who's the other guys? Leica and stuff. But this is you're just not taking away any street photographers from their systems by introducing another Micro Four Thirds rangefinder style system. You might get existing people to buy it. Existing users like myself would probably buy it. But I don't think enough of us would for them to spend all the money on R&D to do that. I think they will come out with a pen style camera without an EVF that will have like a fully articulating screen. Those seem to do well for them consistently. But that price point needs to be closer to $500 or $600, not $1,000. If they introduce another Pen F that's robust and street orientated and all that, weather sealed, yeah, you're talking a couple $1,000 camera. They just can't compete, and they're not going to sell enough to make any money. It's just my opinion, I get it. I would love to have it, and the people that want that camera are driving up the used price market, right, for the Pen F and other cameras. The X106 and the X105, all of those Fujifilm X100, all these street cameras. People just want those cameras. But that's the used market. Those are the people that want it. The used market has limited stock and availability. And that's why the prices go up, because there's not enough supply. But a new production camera, they need to sell, 100,000, 200,000 of those. Any new camera. I don't think they would sell 100,000 Pen Fs if they released one right now. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but they're not going to they're going to be competing in a very, very competitive space, and they're not going to take away anybody that's already got or in a system if they're, because most of the people that are street photography, they're fanboys of their camera system. Whether it's Leica or Nikon or Fuji, certainly Fuji, you're not going to pull anybody away from their current system. Now, if you're going to attract new buyers that don't have a camera system, you can't come out with a $1,000 or $2,000 camera. I just don't see how they could compete in that space. If they want to get new customers into the system, my opinion is they need to come out with a $500 or $600 camera, like another Pen series, or Pen series would do it. If they could come out with a Pen series camera that has updated autofocus and all of that, that would be, I think, a positive move for the company and getting new people into the system, and at a volume that would justify the expense, because there's not a lot of money in these $500-$600 cameras, right? But they'd have to have enough volume, and they have to be very stylish, and they have to be able to connect. The marketing has to be able to connect with buyers, because they're not buying a camera just to take photos. They're buying it to have some certain experience, to feel a certain way, to look a certain way. And be part of something bigger than themselves. And OM Systems has not captured that vibe like Fuji has, right? If you buy a Fujifilm X106 or you buy a Leica Q3, you're part of something bigger than yourself in a way. I don't know if I'm articulating this right. But OM Systems has not been able to connect with buyers in that way. And I think that's partially why the pen F failed. Even though people want it now on the used market, there's not enough of them out there that still work. And the people that have them are not selling them, so the supply is very limited. Like, I have 2 Pen Fs. I'm not selling mine. I'm tempted sometimes because the prices are so high, but I'm not selling mine. So that's part of the problem, right? But yeah, I don't know, Anthony. I think you're in good company. I think a lot of people believe that another Pen F or rangefinder style street orientated camera would do really well for OM systems. I don't think it will. Me personally, I think to attract new buyers into the system, I think an entry-level camera like a Pen series or something would be better. Use the Panny S9 for street with a pancake. Yes. That's a really nice little compact camera. What kind of throws me off on that is it doesn't have a real hot shoe, and I like to do flash photography. So it would be a single purpose camera, right? It would be for street and videography. But that camera, apparently, I saw some interview that it's doing well for Panasonic. It's doing what they expected. Ellie wants some attention. To me, Pete says, to me, entry-level camera without EVF is too close to a phone. Might be that I'm getting older, but the viewfinder is part of the experience. Yeah, I think that's just us old folks. Younger people, what? Younger people, I think they're just used to like working without an EVF. So I think a Pen series can't stop. You're pilling my herringbone sweater here. Okay. Wow, did I catch up on the chat? I can't believe it. 1 second. All right. So, what? Are you hungry? You want to eat? Let's go. Oh, she's hungry. It is almost lunchtime here. You want a card? No? Okay. Okay. Let me throw in a few images here. That I took last week, or yesterday, I should say. No, come here. Hold on 1 second. Let's go. I just need to put her out just for a little bit. Okay. I only have like 3 or 4 pictures here. But I went to Green Springs Garden yesterday. This is a shot that I took with the OM3 and the kit lens. The kit lens is amazing. I took the kit lens out, you know, the 14 to 42 pancake kit lens, because I needed to make space in my bag. I just wanted to go kind of lightweight, so I wanted to keep a little space in my bag for my Insta360 because like I said, I'm reviewing some lenses for this. But yeah, the kit lens is amazing. I love these shots. They're very sharp, lots of character. This shot here was what, ISO 8000, so it's very clean and still plenty of detail there. And this was the Insta360, one of their super wide angle lenses. This was interesting. Someone told me this was a TR4. This is a beautiful car though. It's just kind of parked out in front of the diner where I went. And apparently there was some kind of meetup of Triumph owners, because right around the corner in the parking lot was about 4 more Triumphs. So I didn't get a picture of those cars, but I got a picture of this one. And I used the Insta360 for this one. This is the same shot with the Insta360 that I took with the OM3 and kit lens. Just a wider angle, a little different perspective. But, you know, my thought process here was, you know, framing the house here with this tree, then having this leading line of this path going towards the home, and then just having the light source, the motivation for the lighting onto the house and the trees and the trail and everything. I always try to include the light source in my images if it's available. I just think that makes for a more interesting image when you include where is the light coming from, or what is the light source. Just a subjective choice on my part. Because if you look at this image, let's put these side by side. So in lieu of doing a vlog, I'll just share with you my thoughts here. But if you look at the image on the left, it's got the same components, right? We have the tree kind of framing the house. We have a path leading into the frame to kind of draw your eye there, and like you're walking towards this house. But I think the image here on the right, yeah, it's much wider field of view, but that allowed me to include the light source. And I just like the dynamic range of something very bright to something like we have very harsh, you know, strong shadows down in here. So we have a much wider dynamic range from in this frame. And I think the light, the sun itself, which is the light source, just makes it more dynamic, more interesting, and more alive, right? Because the image on the left, although technically I do like the image a lot, it's much sharper and the colors are nicer, all of that stuff, because it's a better camera than the Insta360, clearly. But, you know, it just doesn't quite have that dynamic range or pop to it. So I don't know. You guys tell me, which one do you like better? The one on the left, the OM3, or the one on the right? And just ignore the color science a little bit. I do like the colors a lot better on the OM3, but I think for me, my vote is for the image on the right with the wider field of view and has the sun in the frame. Okay, and then let's see. Oh, here's another one. Again, same idea, right? I'm including the light source in the frame that's illuminating this. I think if the sun wasn't here, this wouldn't be as interesting a picture. So same thought process going through my mind as I'm walking around this field. Now look at this image. This is a good example, right? Where the image on the left includes the light source in the framing. The one on the right is all reflective light. There's no light source in the frame. So even though the one on the right, and these were both taken with the same camera, this is the Insta360. The one on the right is kind of boring. I did a terrible job of composing that shot to begin with. So, but if the light source was in here somewhere, a really strong light source somewhere up here, I think this image would be more interesting. Like this one, because imagine this image without the light source right here. If I just cut and paste that out, this image wouldn't be half as good, in my opinion. So you guys tell me, what do you like on this one? The one on the left or the one on the right? I think that's all oh, there's one more. So again, this one here, this is a terrible picture. But I like the streaks from the planes here. But again, it just seems very flat to me without the sunrise or the sun in the photo. For this kind of landscape, you know, these kind of foresty landscape shots, I like the sun to be in the frame. or some other light, whether it's a street lamp. I don't know if I have any examples of that. Maybe in my archive. Like this one, right? I have the street lamp right in the frame. The building itself is the light source. You know, I have really nice points of light here and here. So I'm always trying to, like this very strong street lamp, I was very deliberate about that. Again, look at this frame. You can see over here, I was very deliberate about including this light source in the frame. Because if I had cropped this, say, well, let me use the same crop, something wide. If I had cropped this without the light in it, it's not quite as interesting, right? Versus that. So anyhow, there's a little mini vlog there for you. I lost my live screen. Am I still live? Okay. All right, and we love Ellie, and Doggy wants to be in the video, yes. And Plug Nickel says, when Olympus or any camera manufacturer makes a point-and-shoot type with interchangeable lenses that's easy to interact with social media, they will get my money, yes. So it's curious because I've seen these camera, I forget what they're called, Alice or something, where you attach like an interchangeable lens module to your phone. It doesn't get any easier than that to share your images, right? But I've never used it, so I don't know. Could something like the TG7 be made with 1-inch sensor, if not MFT sensor? They could. It'd have to be a lot bigger, though. So take, for example, like the Sony, what is that called? The ZV-1? Yeah, the ZV-1 and the ZV-1. The problem is to have a zoom lens on a 1-inch sensor, you need some room. The lens has to kind of extend out, and that would jack up, you know, that would mess up the weather sealing. Or they need to make the housing big enough so that they can invert the lens like they do currently on the TG7. Because on the TG7 right now, the lens zooms in and out horizontally, and then there's a mirror to the front. So, but the sensor's so small they can do that. If you put a 1-inch sensor, yeah, you're going to have to either make the housing much bigger so it can accommodate this you know, mirror L-shaped type, you know, zoom tunnel. I don't know what they call it exactly. Let me see if I can find a picture to explain it. Wow, it's tough to find. I can't find a picture. Yeah, nobody's, I can't find one. Well, anyway, you get the gist of it, right? They have to make the camera bigger. Even with a 1-inch sensor, that I think it would take it out of the scope of what they're targeting. And the bigger you make things, the more fragile they could potentially become, right? So they'd have to make it really durable. I don't know. They'd have to make a different compact camera. I don't think the TG7 is the size and target market for that is conducive to 1-inch or micro four thirds sensors. Yeah, I don't see how technically it'd be possible, because the TG7 has a 25 to 100 zoom or 4x zoom in it. To do that with a larger sensor, you just need a bigger housing to incorporate the way they have that mirrored zoom lens design, or the lens would have to come out and protrude, and that would sort of eliminate the ruggedness and the weather sealing. Your dog is super cute and charming. Thanks. So I think street and travel photography lifestyle is perhaps larger than wildlife photography market. I'm sure it is. Uh, let's say that's true. I don't doubt it, but it's not. It can't be as profitable, right? It's just not. It's a numbers game. They have to sell a lot to make money in those kind of cameras. To miniaturize a camera system is not a small thing in terms of engineering and design. But you could sell a few 50 to 200s. You could probably sell one 50 to 200 for every 10 X106s or every 10 pens to make the same money. Okay. I think OM Systems should not put all their eggs in one basket if they want to survive as a company. I think long term, that is absolutely true. Short term, they have to survive to begin with. And I think they're doing it with the profit, the high margin, in the wildlife niche of expensive lenses and expensive capable cameras. That's where the money is short term. Long term, they have to expand, no question. But I don't think they should try and jump into an extremely competitive market like street and street photography. They need to get an entry level camera. And Darko says, I think Nikon can make a rangefinder style cam in EVF, but they probably will stick to ZF retro style only. It would be so cool to see one from them. Probably would not be cheap. Yeah. If it is cheap, it's going to feel cheap, right? Like the ZFC just felt cheap in my hands, and that's why I didn't buy it. When it first came out, I was gassing for it. And then I went to the store and I was like, oh, this is kind of plasticky, or just felt plasticky, even though it has, a metal top and stuff. I mean, I know it's not all plastic, but it just felt very cheap. So I just passed on it. And Manuel is here. Good to see you from Florida. And Darko says, I like the closer up shot. Okay. And good morning, the great Vanzini's here. And this compact camera needs to be weather sealed and durable and small and compact. Such a camera will help them sell more premium prime f1.8s. Yeah. So again, we're not talking about $1,000 camera anymore to weather seal a compact camera. It's, yeah. But they, like I said, that's a competitive space. They'd have to compete against the XE5 and the X100 and the XT50, XT30, and it's and those look at like an XT30 is like $800 or $900. XT50 is closer to 1500. XE5 is about 12 or 13. I forget. It's 1400. They could do it, but it's a very competitive space. And Eric is here. Good morning, all. I tried my friend's 100 RF, and I'm damn glad I purchased Q3 instead. You can really feel the no IBIS. Granted, you can boost ISO, but what's the point? Oh, that's interesting. That's right. It doesn't have IBIS. And that was one of the reasons I didn't keep my X100F. I used to have an X100F, and I got so used to IBIS to the point that, I didn't realize how much I relied on it for doing night street photography. And, I came back after a few walks with the X100F, and all my images were, a lot of the images were blurry because there was no IBIS. Whereas on my OM system cameras, I typically shot at like 1/20th, 1/30th of a second because it had IBIS. I can't do that with an X100F. Now the newer X106, I believe, has IBIS. But I'm not spending $1,800 or whatever the price is for that camera. And not a photography question, but here goes. Rob, what is your favorite type of pizza? I had a great one last night with a lot of meat on it. I like my pizzas relatively simple, right? Just cheese and one topping. Usually pepperoni or sausage. Sometimes I get both pepperoni. Now I'm getting hungry. Pizza is like my favorite all-time food. In my entire life, I think pizza is probably is number one in terms of favorite food. Unfortunately, I only eat it once every couple of months. Otherwise I would just swell up again and get fat again. But in high school, I could eat a whole pizza just all by myself. And back then, well, they probably still make them, but back then you'd order a large Domino's. It was actually large, Now you get a large Domino's. It's kind of like the medium of the old days. It feels like. But yeah, just a large pepperoni. But the problem I have with pepperoni and sausage is it's so highly processed. I'm just at an age now. I shouldn't be eating stuff like that anymore. Gosh, I wanna eat a pizza now. Because there's a Domino's down the street from me. If I pick up, I can get a large one-topping pizza or medium two-topping for like $7.99. I think it's a medium two-topping is $7.99. And that'll feed me for like 3 meals, right? Because I'll eat 2 or 3 slices for each meal. And Anthony says, one of the photographers I think about the chic contact before developing and launching such cameras, Robin Wong and a few other street. And launching such a camera. I'm not sure I quite understand what you're saying there, Anthony. OM System needs to fix a problem they have with street and travel and lifestyle photography if they want to gain market share or maintain market share. Right. Like I said, I think long term, that's definitely, they have to expand into other markets. Short term, it's only been, what, 4 years since the OM1 came out? I hope to see some new cameras, or at least some rumors of new cameras later this year. That would be nice. But you have like the wildlife photographers hammering for better autofocus, more megapixels, all the things that a wildlife photographer want, better autofocus and more megapixels. So let's say they set their R&D department, research and development, all into just that. They don't have any room to do street lifestyle type camera, right? They just don't have the bandwidth right now, right? To do 2 projects at once. I'm just as an example. You can scale that up. Maybe they're working on 3 projects, but they don't have the bandwidth to do 4 projects, right? That's what I'm saying. So they're going to focus all their energy where they set their path in wildlife and sports action and landscape. They're going to put all their bandwidth into that, adding more computational features to enhance that experience. I just don't know if they have the bandwidth to expand into street and wildlife, or I'm sorry, street and lifestyle, like you're saying. They came out with the OM3, which was a little bit of a surprise, and it's doing well, but it's not gangbusters, right? But it's doing well enough that my local camera store is sold out of them all the time. Whenever they come in, they sell out. Not the same day, but over a few weeks, they'll sell all the ones that they ordered. Fuji half is marked down a lot. I hear so many. I may grab one for fun. Oh, I wouldn't do it. Robin Wong also complains too many of the cameras that OM system introduced are too expensive for getting new photographers into the system and gain more money. They can develop new cameras. Again, that has to be their long-term strategy. It has to be, if they want to expand their market share. And that's why I'm saying like a $500 or $600 pen camera would be great, I don't think coming out with $1,000 to $2,000 Pen F or high-end mid-range camera, it's just too competitive. To get new customers. Nobody new is going to buy OM systems. They're going to buy Fuji or Canon or Nikon or whatever. And I'm talking about mid-range and also the, whatchamacallit, entry-level cameras. One of their best-selling cameras is still that old R100. That's like a $500 camera. It's like one of the best-selling ones. Even older than that, a best-selling camera is their old T7, a DSLR mirror camera, not mirrorless. Still one of the best-selling cameras because of the price point. And they got the brand recognition. Some XZ3 is missing a lot. Yes, it has just a 1/1.7, but that is perfect enough for regular guys. Just need some update with Wi-Fi better. Yeah. Yeah, the XZ3, the little premium compacts, they're gone. Yeah, I really like my little I think I have an XZ3. I can't remember if it's the 2 or the 3. Haven't taken it out in a while, but it's always took great pictures. Shrimp and anchovies. Ooh. No, definitely not olives. Pineapple pizza, no. No, just simple. I'll eat almost any kind of pizza. But I do not like the peppers or onions. I just like one topping if I can get it. And Pucho, hello, it's been a while. Why do you think MFT is always compared to full frame when MFT, being a crop sensor, should be compared to other crop sensors like APS-C? Thank you for your informative videos. Well, full frame is kind of the dominant camera system, right? So they're going to compare Micro Four Thirds to full frame. They're going to compare APS-C to full frame. Usually, people are not going to compare APS-C and Micro Four Thirds, right? They're going to compare it against the dominant camera system. And a full frame from OM system, will it ever happen? Perhaps one that accepts manual Zuikos without an adapter. I doubt it. If they do, I'll buy one, but I seriously doubt it. And the old Zuiko lenses are DSLR, and I'm sorry, SLR lenses, so they need that flange distance, so the camera is going to have to be made bigger than it needs to be if it's a mirrorless camera. A good example of that is the old Pentax KO1, I think. Yeah, these guys. You know, these old Pentax KO1s, these are mirrorless cameras, but they to use it's using SLR lenses and DSLR lenses. So they had to make the camera thicker than it really needed to be, just so it would work with the lenses. I don't see yeah, the whole box inside. You see how thick that is? They just had to make it much bigger than it needed to be. So if they do come out with a full frame camera, I seriously doubt they'll make one to natively take old lenses, right? And you know, because you can just buy an adapter. And Manuel says, "What do you mean OM has no travel and street equipment? What is wrong with the OM3 for street and travel? I travel with." Yeah, if I said that, I misspoke. You know, the OM3 is an awesome street and travel camera. It really is. I shouldn't have said that if I said that. All in a very small bag. Yes, I agree. I mean, look at this. The OM3 with a 14 to 42. This is a very competent setup. You know, I got my polarizer on there. I like the 12 to 45 better because I can use different filters on it. It's harder to find filters in this size. You know, like I like to use my kaleidoscope filter. I like to, you know, do crazy stuff, but look at that. That's with my grip attached, right? The grip doesn't protrude out too much. And little kit lens. This is a great street camera, but I think the perception is, you know, rangefinder style. We were talking about rangefinder style, so OM system doesn't currently have a rangefinder style street lifestyle type camera, or not a new one anyway. Someone needs to make a simplified camera, less bells and whistles. The problem is when they do that, people complain it doesn't have this and doesn't have that. And Henning says a $500 or $600 camera is not really makeable in new these days. Too many compromises. People buy old stuff for low, but not new stuff. World got insatiable. Well, like I said, the Canon T7, the Canon R100, relatively simple cameras are the best-selling cameras. When I look at like Amazon, right? Like I can do a quick check right now. How do I go to the bestsellers camera? So best-selling cameras. Oh, I'm not going to buy this boot. I decided to get some Bluntstones. Anyway, this is all digital cameras, right? So it's all these little crap cameras. I can tell you these can't, you know, like this little printer one is kind of fun, but this is a piece of crap. This $58 camera. I have something like this. I've never used this, but yeah, nobody I've talked to said they like this camera. So if we go to mirrorless, Canon R50, Canon R50, XT30. Oh, let's see. So let's click on the number 1 here. So it says 400 people bought this last month. Okay, let's go to DSLR. Check out the Canon T7. 500 people bought this. So this Canon T7 is outselling the Canon R50. Let's look at number 2. 500 plus. Number 3, I don't know, I've never heard of this camera, 400 plus. So if we just select digital cameras in general, how far do we have to go down before we see a real camera here? The first real camera is the Canon T7. $649 with 2 lenses and a bag. Then the next real, let's say interchangeable lens camera, Canon R50. Canon R50. XT30. And then we get into these compacts. Then the Sony a7 IV. And then the R100. That used to be a much better sell. That used to be always number 1. And then we go all the way down. Let's cross our fingers. Maybe there's an OM system camera in here. Nope. So let's go back to mirrorless. Let's see how far we have to go for OM systems. The XE5 is way down here. I'm surprised that a Z6 right now is outselling it. XT5 is still in the ranks? Wow. There's the R100. Let's go to page 2. There's the XM5, finally. Wow, an S5 II. That's interesting. It's outselling a ZF. Okay, there's the OM1 or OM5. Number 67. Anything else? OM5 is outselling a ZFC. I mean, there's some nuances there. Some are with a lens, some without a lens. I didn't really pay that close attention. But yeah, the number 1 selling camera is $649 and it comes with 2 lenses and a bag. Number 1 selling camera that has interchangeable lenses. Yeah, they just don't push or advertise for street and travel. And audio is dying. Okay. Shouldn't be. All my meters look good here. And Tom says, if I was serious street photographer, I'd look at the OM3 with a pancake. The high-speed silent shutter and face detection would be great. Yes. And Dub says, I bought the EP7 a few months ago, only 500 shutter count, mint condition, and the price was a steal. Disappointed I can't attach my VF2. I'd hate LCD screens, especially. Yeah. And the 12 to 50 Easy is an overlook lens, old and cool lens, flaring. Yes. I think just because of the length of it, right? The form factor is a little bit too long. It's a great lens if you don't mind the size. It's not heavy by any means, and it's not big, but it's just kind of long and goofy looking. But it has that internal zoom. It has good close-up focusing. It's relatively sharp lens, as good as any other kit lens, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And Darko says, do you think as photographers we need better AF in the cheaper lineup of cameras, and do you think current AF of flagship cams will filter down? They have to. It has to. That's what Fuji does. Their AF systems trickle down and trickle up, actually, because they're medium format cameras. It took a while for those to get the latest AF, right? But it's trickled down all the way down to the XT30 Mark III. And of course, the XE5 and the XT50 all have the latest autofocusing of their flagship XT5 and XH2 series. Same thing with Nikon. You know, Nikon's autofocusing from the Z8 went into the ZF, and now it's trickled down to the Z5 Mark II, and all, it just has to trickle down. All of the Canons have the latest autofocus, from the R50. The R100 does not, but it's only a little bit more to get an R50 or an R7. I'm sorry, an R10, not the R7, but an R10, R50, and they have some other one out too, but they all have the latest autofocusing. The Z50 Mark II, all of these, it has to trickle down. Low-end cameras just need AF that can do human face animal like mobile phones to be competitive. Most people have no idea about some AF points. They just point and shoot. Yes, I agree. If they can simplify the autofocusing system somewhat, that would be nice, but that's not an easy task. Like Canon's automatic detection, so it'll detect if it's human, animal, vehicle, whatever, is not very reliable. Works much better if you physically select, I'm shooting a bird, I'm shooting an animal that is not a bird, and or I'm shooting an airplane. When you tell the camera exactly what you want to shoot, it's much more reliable. And OM systems and a lot of other cameras, that's your only choice. You have to pick what you want to focus on. And the OMD's tagline is, it's in our nature. Yes, like I said, they are squarely focused on wildlife, nature, landscape. When I give a camera to my relatives to take a pic, they do not get the AF point, and since it is middle, they don't know they must place it on a human. So many pics of pairs are out of, focus on the background. Yep. So it goes back to your point. It just needs to automatically find the faces and focus on it, right? And Darko says, medium format camera for wildlife with current subject detection as good as a Z9. What would that cost? Yeah. Well, I think the autofocus is really good, from what I've heard, in the new 100 Mark II, whatever their latest medium format camera is. But, the problem is continuous shutter speed. You can only do like 3 or 4 frames per second. Otherwise, it would be an amazing wildlife camera, right? And then imagine the lenses you'd need, the size of those things you would need for a medium format camera. And the Canon T is a good shooter with a great price, but for size and weight, it's OM5 series for me right now, yes. Yeah, I mean, OM5 is a very capable street camera. It has great face detect, I know that, and it is compact, lightweight, weather sealed. You put on a little 14 to 42 kit lens, which is about this size, right? It's not that big. And you got a great street camera. Okay, I'm gonna call it here, guys. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for all your support. It is also greatly appreciated. And I'll be back on Tuesday for my normal shopping live stream. Like, God, you guys missed some deals if you're not watching. Memory prices, SD cards have gone up a lot. And I found a couple of good deals, but now they're gone. I found a deal, $36 for a 128 gig SD card, V60 for like $36. It's now back up to $100. Anyway, so Tuesday I do shopping, and Fridays I do my photo editing. And stay tuned. I'm going to try and do a members only live stream today or tomorrow. So keep an eye out on my channel for that. I know we need more heads up than that, but I want to get one out just to get started, see how it goes. And Ellie's very, very hungry right now. So I'm going to call it here. Whoops, I got to find the button. All right, Ellie, we're going. We're going. We're going. Yeah. Are you ready? If I ignore her, she's going to All right, let's go. Let's go. Okay. You guys have a great day. Try to do that every day. You have a great life. And eat healthy and exercise. I want to see you all again soon. See you later. All right, let's go.